I really want you to consider the eagle. I want you to consider how it lives and how it flies. Take this away with you and mull it over, go over it. Just as we consider the lion to be the king of the jungle, so we often describe the eagle as being the king of the birds. The eagle has come to represent strength and beauty, freedom, regality and splendour. And as we all come from the same source, any metaphysicians here? As we all come from the same source, we're all part of that same thing. We all have the potential of soaring into divine realms. Okay. This isn't just for some. It isn't just for the chosen few, the enlightened ones. Okay. Again, I'm going to use a couple of various quotations from the Bible here in order to illustrate the life of the eagle, not for any reason other than the Bible does seem to say a lot about eagles if you look into it. And these words can be particularly helpful and of a benefit to us as we meditate on, if you like, the Dharma, the purpose of the eagle. And it's also worth pointing out here that in the part of the world where the Bible originated, there are two types of eagle. There's the golden eagle and the imperial eagle, and what I'm going to be describing is particularly relates to these two types of bird. Another verse in the Bible says, "As an eagle stirs up her nest, fluttering over her young, spreading her wings, she takes them and bears them on her wings." Now, I don't know if you know what that means. And I don't know if you've ever seen films of eagles, wildlife films of eagles, or seen photographs of a young eaglet. And let's face it, a young eaglet is a long way from the majestic adult who soars the skies. Squalling and weird looking, very strange looking birds, young eaglets are. And he needs to learn to fly if he's going to reach the heights that it's destined for. So, this is how it happens. The young bird sits in its nest while its mother flies back and forth, bringing it food every day to satisfy its ravenous appetite. What a life. All it has to do is sit there in the nest while its mother brings the food. It doesn't have to do a thing. It doesn't even have to chew the food because mum already does that for him before passing it down its beak. And it's a bit like us when we sort of get onto this spiritual journey. And it's a bit like the guy with his aeroplane earlier on. All we need to do is read all the books, listen to the CDs, go to conferences, be fed by the experts, the experienced ones. We just open our mouths and we let them feed us. It couldn't be any better. We're so impressed by the powerful knowledge of the teachers, the gurus, the spiritual leaders, the inspirational speakers. And this is how it works. Instead of landing on the nest, she begins to hover, beating the air with her wings. And she then begins to take a bit of the nest in her beak and drop it to the ground. And she follows this by taking another bit of nest in her beak and dropping that to the ground. Now, you can imagine, can't you, this might be a little bit scary for the eaglet as it begins to think that maybe its mother has started to lose it. With each tug of the beak, the nest is becoming smaller and smaller, and the safety of the eaglet is diminishing with it. And as the nest continues to disappear, the eaglet begins to realise that the comfort and security it had relied on is no longer there to support it. And so the eagle flight training program begins. This is how it happens. When we come into this world in this present incarnation we've chosen, first we need to spend time as children, being nurtured, nourished, protected. But pretty soon the universe, or the source of our being, will begin to confront us with the need to grow and to mature into more than earthbound creatures that we begin our lives as. It's important to note here as well that the one who is causing the seeming problem to the young eaglets in the nest is the one who has most concern for their well-being, the one who has the most love for them. And we often blame fate or God or the universe when things get a little uncomfortable in our lives and things seem to be going wrong. But what if we view these situations in a different light? What if we see that this is the universe's way of stirring the nest and encouraging us to rise up? Might not seem like it, might seem like falling down, but encouraging us to rise up and to reach new heights. So back in the nest, little Joey is sitting there, and the nest is getting smaller and smaller. And the young eaglet is now standing on the ledge of what is left of its home. The mother bird then takes the eaglet gently in her beak, pulls it by its wing, and encourages him to the edge. And it's probably at this point that the offspring starts to have real serious doubts about the sanity of its parent. Next, mother pushes the young bird over the edge, and it falls headlong towards the ground and certain destruction. And suddenly, as if from nowhere, mother swoops beneath the youngster, catching it on her back, and flies back up to the nest. And the young eaglet is just so relieved that he didn't crash into the ground. He's back there on his nest. And he's just getting he's just getting over this traumatic experience when it starts all over again. Mother bird once again starts to nudge her young, and once again he falls towards the ground, only to be rescued on the back of his mother just before impact. And this whole process is repeated several times, each time the parent catches the youngster before tragedy occurs. And after being convinced of the insanity of its parent, the young eaglet starts to wonder if mum is actually trying to get some message across to him. Thinking about the powerful wings that carry mother and baby back up to the relative safety of the nest, he begins to think that maybe he should try doing something with his own wings. So the next time he feels himself falling from a great height, he very shakily starts to spread his wings, and to his amazement finds himself rising up higher and higher as the air currents carry him far above the nest that had been his safety and security for all of his life.